Today, I want to talk about political maps. How do they look like? It's these. They are a great way for showing the borders of countries across history, as they demonstrate boundaries of territories in and around a certain region. In this video, I want to talk about some aspects of these maps that I feel aren't talked about as much by many map resources. That is, I feel like there's a lot of small details that one can put into political maps that can really make the difference between a good or bad presentation. And while I'm definitely not an expert, I have dabbled enough in making maps to the point of having opinions on them. The first step will almost always be choosing a base map. A base map in this case is any map that is used for a reference for borders and geography. Without it, it's extremely hard to draw any precise borders. The good news is that there are a plethora of these to go around. Google Maps, QGIS, and Old Maps Online are great places that I like to go to when looking for base maps, though there are many others if you do go looking. I feel like there's a temptation to give political borders some sort of fancy aesthetic, as they are the staple of political maps to begin with. However, I found that there really is no need to overthink it. The best way to draw it really is just a solid line. As long as the borders are able to contrast with the rest of the map, it should be fine, which usually means painting it with darker colors. There's always the option of not using any borders at all, which can look like a pretty cool aesthetic. However, it begins to look pretty ugly once countries begin to share colors together. Solid lines themselves run into issues when trying to represent tiny territories, as they risk getting engulfed by the thickness of borders being drawn. Because of that, it's usually best to draw borders as thin as aesthetically possible, though in the end it's not a big problem. A big pet peeve that I have with political maps is that many times maps will decide to use a limited color palette. Take this map of modern Europe from the CIA World Factbook, for example. Here you can see that there are a variety of countries which use the same color to identify themselves, such as Italy and Poland, or Germany and Turkey. I take issue with this, as throughout history there are enclaves all over the place, which would make differentiating what is a separate country, or what is just an extension of a territory, more difficult than it should be. In this case, it is the labels that heavily carry the information on the map, which if misread, could lead to weird conclusions, such as France owning Algeria. By giving each political entity a unique color in a political map, I feel a viewer is greatly aided in reading it. So then, what color should one paint a nation? There's no real rules for coloring a country, but it's good to use colors associated with aspects of a nation. Flags and standards are a good base for a country's color, with them being the face of a nation. With this logic, Spain is usually painted golden, Brazil green, and Sweden as a blue. One can also find colors significant to a cultural majority in a territory, like how the color green is significant in Ireland and in many majority Islamic nations. Though arguably, the biggest culprits for caring about country color are Britain and France. A red Britain and blue France on a map stem all the way back to colonial times, the red in Britain being an inspiration from the redcoat uniforms, and the blue being a tradition in French heraldry and the French coat of arms. As labels are a must-have in these types of maps, it helps to enhance them by creating different font styles used for different aspects of the map. These aspects can be things such as countries, cities, or bodies of water. City dots themselves are great to add for any political map, as it allows to demonstrate capitals and population distribution. I like it when dots demonstrate cities of different population, whether that be via changes in size or in style, as it helps further demonstrate where people are and where they aren't. Oh, and if any color scheme is used, remember to add the legend, as without it, the scheme is not immediately obvious at first glance.